NVIDIA's value shot from $300 billion to $3 trillion in just 2 years, fueled by chips that quietly became the engine of the AI revolution. If one company can reshape the global economy this fast, what happens when the world realizes it can't move forward without it? NVIDIA is more than just a tech company. It's one of the most important forces shaping the future of our world. At its core, it's known for inventing the modern GPU, the graphics processing unit that changed video games forever. But what started as a tool for rendering explosions and shadows in gaming has quietly evolved into the engine behind some of humanity's most ambitious technologies. From self-driving cars and robotics to generative AI and massive supercomputers running scientific simulations, wherever innovation is happening, NVIDIA isn't just present, it's leading the charge. But how did it all begin? Go back to 1993, when 3 engineers, Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preen, had a wild idea. They believed that in the future, computers wouldn't just need faster CPUs. They'd need a new kind of processor that could handle parallel computing tasks, millions of them at once. Something visual, something fast, something built for the complex graphics that games were starting to demand. So with $40,000 of their own money and a deep belief in the rise of 3D graphics, they founded NVIDIA. The name itself derived from the Latin invidia, meaning envy, hinted at the level of dominance they hoped to achieve. And leading it all was Jensen Huang, a Taiwanese-American engineer with a razor-sharp mind and a CEO style that blended obsessive perfectionism with big-picture vision. For years, NVIDIA was known mainly to gamers. Their GeForce line of graphics cards became legendary for pushing the boundaries of visual performance. But behind the scenes, Huang had already started betting on something bigger. He saw that the same chips rendering virtual worlds could also train machines to see, think, and learn. Long before most people were talking about AI, NVIDIA was quietly building the tool to run it. Fast forward to today, and we're standing on the edge of something that feels less like a tech upgrade and more like a new industrial revolution. Not one driven by steam engines or electricity, but by algorithms, neural networks, silicon wafers, and machine learning. This isn't science fiction, it's very real. AI is writing code, designing drugs, creating music, diagnosing diseases, and optimizing global logistics. And powering all of that, quite literally, are NVIDIA's chips. What's wild is how fast it all happened. In just a few years, NVIDIA went from a respected hardware company to one of the most valuable firms on Earth. Sometimes even brushing shoulders with the likes of Apple and Microsoft in market cap. People in Silicon Valley call it the Midas touch because almost anything NVIDIA touches, gaming, AI, data centers, cloud computing, turns to gold. But it wasn't just luck or timing, it was vision. Huang and his team saw where things were going and built for it. Long before the world caught on, they transformed the GPU from a niche gaming tool into a general-purpose AI powerhouse. That's why every major tech company, Google, Amazon, Tesla, Meta, OpenAI, is hooked on NVIDIA's chips. They're not just buying hardware, they're buying the infrastructure of the future. NVIDIA didn't just ride the AI wave, it helped build it. Its chips, particularly GPUs, are the engines powering everything from large language models like ChatGPT to the supercomputers behind self-driving cars. The demand for these chips has skyrocketed, with NVIDIA reporting mind-blowing revenue growth of over 200% year over year. That kind of number isn't just a financial headline, it's a signal that the economic shift we're witnessing isn't temporary, it's foundational. The AI industry is turning into its own economy, and NVIDIA is right at the center of it. People across the world are building startups, labs, and corporations around AI infrastructure. Investors are pouring hundreds of billions into data centers filled with NVIDIA hardware. Entire companies have been built around reselling NVIDIA chips or renting out computing time on them. It's not about just innovation, it's also about dependence. Back in the early 90s, NVIDIA wasn't trying to lead a global tech revolution. It was just trying to make video games look better. Gamers were demanding better visuals, smoother frame rates, and more immersive experiences. NVIDIA stepped in with chips designed specifically for that purpose, graphics processing units or GPUs. At the time, nobody imagined that these gaming chips would eventually power artificial brains. But that's exactly what happened, and it wasn't even intentional at first. Researchers working on neural networks discovered that GPUs, with their ability to process thousands of tasks at once, were way better suited to AI training than regular CPUs. Instead of crunching one line of code at a time, they could run massive amounts of calculations in parallel, exactly what's needed to teach a machine how to think. That discovery flipped NVIDIA's future upside down. The same chips designed to make explosions in Call of Duty look realistic were now being used to simulate how the human brain works. That accidental shift turned NVIDIA into the most important company in the world of AI almost overnight. The company quickly leaned into the opportunity. It didn't just stick to making hardware, it started building the entire ecosystem. The software to manage AI workloads, the tools to help researchers, and the infrastructure for cloud companies to scale. While other chip makers were focused on traditional markets, NVIDIA was quietly laying the foundation for what would soon become the most advanced AI labs on the planet. What's wild is how much of this success wasn't planned. NVIDIA didn't set out to become the backbone of artificial intelligence. It just built great hardware for a completely different purpose, and the world found a new use for it. That kind of pivot, where a company discovers its true calling by accident, is rare. But when it happens, it creates giants. Everything was cruising along for the US AI industry. NVIDIA chips were dominating the market. OpenAI was setting new records, and Silicon Valley had comfortably claimed the front seat in the AI race. Then, DeepSeek happened. Out of nowhere, a Chinese company that most people had never even heard of dropped a model that stunned the entire tech world. What made it even more shocking wasn't just the power of the model, it was how they built it. Without access to NVIDIA's top-tier chips, DeepSeek somehow created an AI that could match, and in some ways even outperform, American counterparts. It was like discovering someone had built a rocket ship using spare parts. The tech world panicked. On Wall Street, over $1 trillion in value was wiped from leading US tech companies in a single day. People started throwing around the phrase Sputnik moment, and not lightly. Back in 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first satellite, and the US was blindsided. It triggered a massive investment wave in science, education, and defense. This felt eerily similar. DeepSeek's reasoning model wasn't just a new player. It was a wake-up call that America might not be as far ahead in the AI race as it thought. What makes DeepSeek's achievement so significant is the context. The US has strict export controls on NVIDIA's most powerful chips to prevent them from reaching China. The logic was simple. Without those chips, China couldn't compete. But DeepSeek flipped that assumption. They used NVIDIA's weaker, export-approved H800 chips and still got elite results. It was like making Michelin-starred food in a microwave. The message was clear. The old rules of power and control might not apply in this new world of AI. There's no denying it anymore. We're in the middle of a full-blown AI arms race. But this isn't just a battle between tech companies trying to outcode each other. It's geopolitical. It's economic. It's about who gets to shape the next century of power, influence, and innovation. At the heart of it all is artificial intelligence, a technology so transformative that it's now viewed as a critical national asset, right up there with oil and nuclear weapons. The US government sees the writing on the wall. That's why over the past few years, it's tightened export controls on high-performance chips like NVIDIA's, which are essential for training large AI models. The goal was simple: slow down China's progress and maintain a lead in this technological race. But here's the twist. China didn't slow down. If anything, it sped up. Instead of throwing in the towel, Chinese companies did something unexpected. They adapted. One of the biggest shocks came when DeepSeek, a Chinese AI firm, managed to develop powerful language models using only the versions of NVIDIA chips that were still allowed under the export rules. These chips were technically weaker, intentionally limited by US restrictions. Yet, DeepSeek still produced results that rivaled leading Western models. That one move flipped the whole strategy on its head. Suddenly, experts started questioning whether export controls were really enough. The metaphor that started making rounds was baking apple pie without apples, a clever way of saying China had pulled off the impossible. But for Washington, it wasn't clever. It was alarming. Why? because it proved that the US might be underestimating China's ability to work around tech barriers. If Beijing-backed firms or private innovators can still reach top-tier AI performance without the best chips, then the whole system of containment might be cracked before it ever really got a chance to work. The concern isn't just about this one breakthrough, it's what it represents. The beginning of a new phase where workarounds, efficiency tricks, and alternative architectures become China's secret weapons. Even more interesting is how these export bans have seemingly backfired in some ways. By cutting off access to top US hardware, Washington may have unintentionally pushed Chinese AI developers to get scrappier, more inventive, and more independent. With fewer resources, they started experimenting with data-efficient models, new training methods, and different software approaches. This isn't just catch-up anymore, it's a full-on innovation sprint. And here's the real kicker. While the US tries to keep China from advancing too quickly, those very restrictions may have lit the fire under China's AI ambitions. The result? A faster, more resourceful, and increasingly competitive rival. One that isn't just chasing the US, it's starting to catch up. Jensen Huang isn't your average Silicon Valley CEO. He doesn't walk on stage with polished buzzwords or stick to a teleprompter script. He doesn't cling to corporate jargon or hide behind layers of formal hierarchy. What you see is what you get, and what you get is one of the most unconventional and visionary minds in tech today. The man behind NVIDIA has built a reputation that extends far beyond the boardroom. Yes, the leather jackets and energetic keynote presentations make him a standout personality. But it's his unshakable drive, daring vision, and deep engineering intuition that have made him one of the most important figures in modern technology. Jensen's journey to the top didn't begin in the Silicon Valley garage or through a string of Ivy League connections. It started in the quiet, uncertain world of immigration. Born in Taiwan, he moved to the United States at just 9 years old and was raised in Oregon, a far cry from the world of billion-dollar chip fabs and AI supercomputers. His early years were marked by hard work and adaptation. He wasn't handed success. He earned every inch of it through discipline and focus. Jensen studied electrical engineering at Oregon State University, and later went on to earn a master's degree from Stanford University, where his obsession with precision, efficiency, and innovation began to crystallize. He wasn't the loudest guy in the room, but he was the one who saw what others didn't. He understood early on that the future of computing would rely not just on central processing units, or CPUs, but on graphics processing units, or GPUs, parallel computing powerhouses designed to handle massive loads of data at lightning speed. In 1993, that belief led him, along with Chris Malachowski and Curtis Preem, to start NVIDIA with little more than an idea and a $40,000 investment. Back then, no one could have predicted that the small graphics company they founded would grow into a $3 trillion juggernaut that now powers AI systems, robotics, cloud data centers, and more. Under Huang's leadership, NVIDIA has become more than just a hardware company. It's become a cornerstone of the AI revolution. His ability to anticipate major shifts in the tech landscape and then steer his company straight into the heart of them is nothing short of remarkable. But Jensen doesn't see success as something soft or easy. He runs NVIDIA with intensity, and his belief in high standards and deep technical understanding sets the tone for everything the company does. From a childhood in Taiwan to the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, Jensen Huang's story is anything but ordinary, and neither is the company he's built. That engineering mindset never left him. While many tech leaders delegate and manage from a distance, Jensen is still known to walk around NVIDIA's headquarters and ask detailed technical questions directly to engineers. He doesn't hide in an office. He believes in being immersed in the process, understanding the product, the customer, and the science behind it all. People who work at NVIDIA describe the atmosphere as intense, even chaotic at times, because Jensen likes it that way. He doesn't follow the conventional playbook. There are no traditional meetings, no long business plans, and no endless chains of approvals. Everyone is expected to know what everyone else is doing, and that openness fuels creativity and accountability. Jensen Huang's now famous pain and suffering philosophy might sound harsh at first, even borderline ruthless. But to him, it's not cruelty, it's clarity. It's a mindset built on the belief that pressure, discomfort, and adversity are not just inevitable in innovation, they're essential. While other leaders might preach balance and comfort zones, Jensen leans into the struggle. He believes that true greatness, both in people and in products, is only revealed when you're tested, really tested. That's why inside the walls of NVIDIA, pain isn't just tolerated, it's part of the culture. Huang often reminds his team that the best work comes not during moments of ease, but during moments of chaos and constraint. Whether it's building chips that power the future of AI, or racing to solve impossible hardware challenges, he sees hardship as the forge that sharpens decisions and strips away mediocrity. Every product NVIDIA builds, whether it's a GPU for gamers or a data center chip powering supercomputers, goes through this mental crucible. Nothing is rushed, nothing is done halfway, and everyone is expected to perform at the edge of their capabilities. This approach has created one of the most laser-focused, disciplined environments in the entire tech world. Inside NVIDIA, teams are driven not by fluffy mission statements, but by a relentless demand for excellence. Jensen doesn't sugarcoat it either. He expects a lot, but he also rewards performance in a way that few companies can match. Employees who thrive under pressure find themselves contributing to breakthroughs that actually shape the world. Autonomous driving, generative AI, scientific research, and real-time 3D rendering. In other words, if you survive the heat, you don't just get a paycheck, you get legacy. For many at NVIDIA, that trade-off is worth it, because in Jensen's world, pain isn't punishment, it's purpose. It's the crucible that separates average from elite, noise from signal. And for those willing to push through, the result is more than just a better product. It's a sense of shared mission, sharpened by hardship and fueled by the belief that the toughest challenges bring out the best in those brave enough to face them. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.